Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray and I teach watercolor, a new tutorial every week, and this week we are doing butterfly balance. We have Keenan here working the cameras.
Hello.
I'm super excited for this project because we usually do loose or detailed paintings, and in this one we are doing both simultaneously.
Sandwich.
Sandwich, exactly. Okay, so we'll be doing this project in 7 steps. So our very first step is we will be doing the top of the right wing wash. The second step is we will be doing the bottom of the right wing wash. Our third step is we'll be doing those black details on our right wing and the body. Our fourth step is we will be doing just the wash of the top and the bottom. Now, as you can see, this is our looser side, so we're just combining those steps. Fifth step is we'll be putting the black sections in on our loose left wing. Step 7 is we will be Step 6 is we will be doing splatters, and step 7, antennas, any last details. Fun. Okay. I'm using 3 colors for this project. We have red, deep yellow, azure blue.
Wow.
Yeah, these are the same colors that we do our mountain pathway project with, so I love paint colors. There's such a range that you can do with them. So okay, we're using 2 paint brushes for this, around 6 and around 2. These are our go-to brushes. We love these brushes. We have literally painted hundreds of projects with just these 2 brushes. So if you need a good starting spot, these are the 2 I recommend. We are using Let's Make Art watercolor paper. Please paint on the more textured side. And we got our outline here. As you can see, there's only one side of it.
Which is trippy.
It is trippy. Well, and it's funny because I was kind of nervous to only do one side of the outline, but I want to tell you guys, the whole point of this project is not to do the left side loose that looks exactly like the right side. The whole point of this project is to make the left wing look very different from the right wing. So let the expectation go. This isn't one of those like challenges where it's like half a drawing and finish the drawing and see how close you can get. Have you ever done those?
No.
They are so hard. That is not what this is. I do not expect you to have the same exact anything, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So I taped my outline down to my paper. I'm gonna do dark shiny side down on my graphite paper. Now, for the black sections, I'm not going to fill those in on my outline. That is just a reference for you guys to look at because we got a lot of lines going on here. We got a lot of sections, we got a lot of details, and I didn't want it to be confusing on the outline what is what. So what I hope that you'll do is you'll just outline it normal, like not fill in any of the black sections, and then actually look at your outline as a reference for what sections stay black and solid and which ones do not. Okay? So keep your outline handy so you can just look at it.
Yeah, this is a beast of an outline.
It is.
And it's only half the project.
It is. It really is.
I thought maybe you were like, we're going to show you how to flip the paper on its other side and combine the butterfly.
Oh, that would be cool.
With one outline. But then you told
No.
us what you're doing.
No, it's not that at all. Well, and the evolution of this project is as I was thinking about balance, I was thinking about like wings in general. Well, first I thought about bees because they shouldn't be able to fly.
No, they should not.
And so I was just thinking about like flying things. I was thinking about symmetry. And so that made me think of butterfly wings. So originally I was just gonna have us do one butterfly wing, like a half a butterfly on the side of the paper, and that was gonna be it.
Cool.
But then I remembered a project that Jessie, our mixed media art journal artist, did where it was a butterfly and one side was like kind of faded away, one of the wings.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? It's a great project. And I was just like, you know, like I feel like there's something to that, something to the idea of we're gonna be a little bit more precise and thoughtful about one, and then on this left side, we're gonna let it be loose and crazy. And then I thought, wouldn't it be fun if we can explore two different, very, very different painting styles in one painting?
Totally.
And that's the project? That's how it came about. So,
I'm glad we
excited
were
for it.
privy to that thought process.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's fun.
I want to give you guys a little bit of a inside to making the decisions, you know?
What kind of butterfly is this?
I have no idea. I think somebody said like a tiger swallow.
I was going to say a tiger.
Tail.
Tiger swallowtail.
I don't know.
That's an interesting name.
I totally messed that up. I have no idea what it is. I should have written that in my notes.
Oh, that's so
Gosh
funny.
dang it. I'm sorry. Now, with this outline, because there are so many sections, there's so many lines, there's so much going on, be kind to yourself in terms of you might miss some sections, you might miss some lines. That's okay. We're not going for perfection here. We're not going for realism here, obviously. So like, let those expectations go and just be okay with whatever. And if you find out that you missed a chunk, sketch it in and then keep going. Don't let it stop you. Okay, I think, oh my gosh, so many lines. Oh, missed this section. One more.
I think your pro tip of the day was to use a felt tip.
Yep, that would be.
Now that we're done with the outline.
Now that we're done with the outline, make sure you use a felt tip marker. Okay, cool.
That looks cool.
Let's do our oath and then get to the fun part. If you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
Promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Thank you, Keenan. I love starting that way. I feel like it's a way to reset your mind. Let go of all the things that are talking to you that are saying, this is hard, this is scary, you can't do this, you got to be the best. This will define your value as an artist. This will decide if you're good at watercolor.
False.
We say shh, shh to those voices. We're just here to play. And if you do a painting and it doesn't turn out, it is one painting and it does not define your value as a creative or as an artist. Or if you're good at watercolor, watercolor is a skill. It just takes time and practice. And I promise you that if you commit to practicing watercolor, you will see improvements over time. That's just how it works. That's how it works with anything. So it doesn't feel like that when you mess up, but I promise you, look at the years, not the days, you know?
Ooh, I like that.
Okay, let's get started. So I have my round 6. I'm gonna grab some yellow. And you can see I have a bunch of different puddles of color going on here. I probably put too much paint on my palette, but that's okay. I'm just gonna keep going. I got my yellow here. I'm gonna grab a little bit of red and add that to my yellow to make it a little bit orange. And I'm gonna just paint straight over this whole thing. I'm not gonna try and paint around the sections because the black values that we put on top are gonna be darker, so they're gonna show up, okay? So I'm gonna do step 1, paint the wash on the right wing. I'm gonna start with this orange color, put that in, and right at the tip, just right where it meets that body, drop a little red in there, just a little, okay? And just let it bleed. And now I'm gonna take yellow and using my 6, spread that yellow across the wing. And again, you can do the whole section. You don't have to do little bit by bit. And sometimes what I like to do when I'm working like in one color here, and I want there to be just a little bit of variation, is like, let's say this is a section right here. I'm gonna put a little bit of that orange along the edge. Just so there's a little bit of variation in value and hue, just for more visual interest. Now my butterfly wing at this point is damp, but it is not so wet that I'm losing control of where my paint is going. Is it blending and bleeding out a little bit? Yes, but it's for the most part staying where I'm putting it. If you are trying to put color down and it's just blending and bleeding everywhere, it's not even staying close to where you want it to stay, give your wing a few minutes to dry before you do this part.
I think I love watching the damp procedure.
Yeah.
Because like dry is crispy, but damp is like, oh, it's just the right amount of you don't know what it's gonna do.
Yes. And the thing I've learned, and it's interesting because like I've been teaching on this channel specifically for more than 4 years. And I'm still learning things about watercolor. And what has become really apparent to me in this last year, because I've been working a lot on landscapes, what's become really apparent is that I always thought like the paper is wet and that's just all it is, but there's variation in how wet your paper is, and different wetnesses achieve different results. So like, sometimes you want your paper to be like really, really wet and like do stuff on that. But like when you're layering, and especially when you want diffused and you're trying to layer like distances and stuff like that, you want your paper to just be damp. You know what I mean? So like controlling how much water is on your paper is something that I'm learning and trying to like really get a grasp on, so I can communicate that to you guys as you're learning, because all wetness, paper wetnesses are not the same. Your paint is going to behave differently on that paper depending on how wet it is.
Cool.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. See how we're getting some variation there in value?
Mm-hmm.
And you can go as crazy with this as you want it to. I just wanted something. I just wanted each little section just to be a little bit special. Okay, now the bottom I'm not really going to touch. It's such small little chunks that we're going to see that I don't know if adding a little bit of color is really going to stand out, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to do the bottom wing. Same thing. I'm going to mix a little bit of an orange. Right where that meets the body is that orange. Okay, get my brush wet, pick up some yellow, spread out that yellow. And then when we get to this long, like thick section right here, we're gonna use blue.
Fun.
So I'm gonna grab my azure, and I'm gonna start with blue at the bottom. Okay, so along that bottom line, rinse my brush, and then pull that blue up. I want there to be, and you could do the opposite. You can start with like a barely there blue at the top and then drop in color at the bottom. Basically what I'm going for here is I want there to be a light section and a dark section. So light at the top, and then it gets to a dark at the bottom. Okay, just like that. And then where this blue runs into this yellow, like you can work that so it's just a little bit of green. So I'm just pulling that blue up. into that yellow to get that little hint of like turquoise.
That looks awesome.
Okay, and then just for fun, I'm going to go along this bottom edge again with just azure. And just letting, I mean, this is damp paper, so it's going to bleed and blend out. I'm okay with that. Oh, cool, huh? Okay. Now, when I get to this section, I am going to paint just the little like yellow-orange sections on this because so much of this is black. It didn't make sense for me to paint the whole thing. You can paint the whole thing yellow if you want. I'm just going to do this. So making sure I get those sections. I'm not being precise. Like, I'm going outside the outline here. I'm, you know, being edgy. So you can like be like messy and loose because we're gonna cover it up anyway, but I didn't feel like I needed to just paint the whole section. Okay. Okay. Oh, let's do my red at the top here. Now it's pretty dry now, it's dried. So it's not going to blend as easy. So what I like to do is I like to put in the red, dry my brush off on my paper towel, and just work that area together so it blends out. But the reason why I'm dabbing my paper towel is I'm having my paper towel pick up the excess color, so then it's like actually blending out instead of me just adding more red going down. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Okay. We did step 1 and 2. Now we're going to move on to step 3. We're going to do our black details. So we need to mix a very dark color. We need to mix a very dark color. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mix all 3 of these colors together to get our dark value. If you have black paint, you can use black paint. Some artists are just like, don't ever use black. I don't care. Use black paint. You can use a pen. You can use a marker if you want. I don't care. Use whatever you want.
That's a good idea.
You're an artist. You can use whatever you want. The rules are there is no rules. Okay, red, yellow, blue. Ooh, there we go.
Oh, wow. That changed so fast.
I'm going to do a little more red. And a little more blue. And a little more red. Okay. There we go. Look at that.
That's it.
Look at that. Nice and dark. It's exactly what we want. Is this a pure black? No. Because if you do this, and how you can tell the undertones of a color if you can't tell from here, swatch it and add water to it. The undertones of this black are green and blue. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're looking at this and you're just like, okay, I can't tell what colors are underneath this dark value that I'm mixing, swatch it on a piece of paper, add water to it, and the colors will become more clear. And so then you can decide, am I okay that there are undertones of this, or do I want undertones of red, or do I want undertones of purple? And that will help you decide what colors you mix into it to turn it into that, okay? So, you want to make sure that your butterfly is totally dry. Because we want this to stay sharp. And the reason why I'm being a little bit more precise about this than I would usual is the left side is where we paint it while it's wet and it goes everywhere and it's crazy. To get the full impact of the juxtaposition of the tight and the loose, we want to make sure our tight is actually tight. So I'm going to switch to my 2. And I'm going to start putting in the sections. Okay? Now sometimes what I'll do to help it like stay dark is, like especially with this nice thick section right here, is I'm going to take some water. Now it's looking green because that's what my water is. I'm going to take some water and just do a thin layer of water, and then I'm going to pick up my dark mixture and drop it in. Sometimes, because these colors are like dye-based and vibrant, if you have too much color and not enough water, then you might get some fuzzy edges. And it's kind of tricky because we want a dark, like, we want a really dark value, you know what I mean? So we're just like, I gotta pick up a lot of paint, and if I add water to it, it will dilute it. So then, like, how do I find that balance of still having a dark value without it getting lighter in value? So my little trick of wetting the area first and then putting in the color kind of helps that. But you can see here, like, my dark value is sometimes reading like as like gray and green a little bit on some of these. So don't stress if it's not like midnight black. Okay. I'm going to do the chunks first, and then I'll do the thin lines. And I can tell here that I've already missed some lines, so I'm just eyeballing it. Like, there are some lines and sections that I didn't draw. That was inevitable, there were a lot. But I'm aware of them, and I'll just draw them in. Not stress, it's okay if it's a little bit different.
This is looking cool.
I think it's so fun to do like colorful wash. I love painting butterflies for this reason, because they have like those black sections and those black detail lines.
Yeah.
So I love doing really colorful wings and then just like the little tight black sections to section. I just think it looks really cool next to each other.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to warn you, and I'm going to say this before we do especially our small lines. If you want to make any changes to your wings, it is like adjust the colors of the washes that we did, so much easier to do it before you do the black section. So don't add the black section until you're like, yes, wing, good, color, good. So just warning you, I'm seeing some areas where I'm like, oh, I think I might want a little bit richer yellow right here. So like I'm seeing that specifically right here, where I feel like it just needs a little bit more yellow. So I'm gonna add that now before I try and, instead of having to try and paint around the black sections. Now, whenever you do that though, you're essentially like having to start all over with the drying game.
Oh.
Because you got to wait for it to totally dry. And that's okay. Just warning you. I feel like some of these need to be darker. Okay. Do we have a heat gun that we can use, Keenan?
We have a beefy heat gun.
Oh, we don't have the craft tool heat gun?
We do not. Not down here right now.
Well, let's use that then, just
Okay.
to make this faster. Okay. So one thing that you can do, like once you go in and adjust an area and add another layer, you can just like move on to another section. So for example, I wasn't going to do the bottom section until the top section was done, but since I'm waiting for the top section to dry, we'll do the bottom section. You see what
Okay.
I'm saying?
We'll give him a hopscotch.
Yeah, just move around. So we're gonna do this area right here. And I want you guys to notice that I'm doing like sketches, like sketch marks a little bit. And the reason for that is because if you looked closely at this butterfly wing, or if you look at like the sections of butterfly wings in general, they have an uneven edge. So I really wanted it to kind of speak to that, where these colors kind of like, it isn't perfectly smooth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So by doing these like little brush strokes with uneven edges, sometimes it helps that.
I like that look.
Yeah. And then we're going to do the same thing along the bottom here. Just where it kind of meets that blue section. And then you can just do like regular thick brush strokes for these sections here. It. Okay. Sometimes these, you got to get really thin lines.
It is very satisfying watching these spaces be filled in though, because they're so small.
Yeah.
And the brush you're using is so little.
There is something really like almost meditative about just like repeated filling in these smaller brush strokes. Letting your mind wander. Now we got this section here where it kind of like connects with that top wing. That line kind of goes across both. Now to get your brush, so I was filling in the thicker black sections. Now when I do these like really thin sections that are on the wing, I like to prep my brush differently. So I was just picking up paint. But when I grab my two, I'm going to pick up paint, and then I'm going to squish it on one side, flip it, squish it on the other. It's going to pinch my brush into a nice thin line. Okay, you see that? And I'll do it a few times. So it's nice and pinched, nice and thin. I'm going to hold my brush up vertically and just barely touch that top so I get a nice thin line at that top.
Wow.
Because even though we're using a small brush, if we have a lot of paint and a lot of water, sometimes like we get thicker lines than we maybe want. So I'll like kind of pinch my bristles together, not actually just kind of smush them on my palette. So then I feel like I have a little bit more control over these thin lines. You can also use liner brushes. Those are a little bit easier to use. Okay. Kind of up here with these. Okay. Ooh, doesn't that bottom wing look so cool?
It seriously does. Those detail lines are amazing.
All right. And now we're going to go back. My wing is dried. We'll go back in and do the thicker chunks. Now, as you're putting down this new black color compared to the black sections that have already been painted, you'll notice that there's going to be a little bit of a difference. And again, that's just because watercolor, when it's wet, is darker. And then as it dries, it lightens. So our dried black areas are going to be a little bit lighter than our wet black areas. That's okay. That's normal. That's how it works. And at this point, you guys can fill in whatever sections you want to. I mean, there's not a lot of, it doesn't really matter. You can do this thick section, you can do the thin line, it doesn't, whatever you want. I am doing kind of like that sketch brush stroke for this yellow section on this one. So the top part is kind of like that sketchy, uneven line. And you can see that in the reference photo right here. And if at any point, I was just thinking this, Keenan came up with this saying, if at any point you're feeling a little bit lost in the sauce, where you're just like, wait, is this part dark? Is this part supposed to stay yellow? Like what? I'm lost. I don't know where I am. Don't stress. Just paint a section, because I'm telling you that someone looking at this is going to say, do you know that it's actually, that black section is like 1/8 of an inch higher and you painted the wrong section? Like no one will be able to tell. So like for me, I just noticed where I'm like, wait, which section is this that I need to paint? And then I was just like, I'm just going to make a decision and go with it. Like it's still going to read as a butterfly. It's still going to be able to do what I want it to do. So give yourself a little bit of a grace when you're just like, where am I?
And I don't think the average person knows a whole lot about butterfly wings.
Yeah.
So you could probably just wing it right now to do something completely different, and it'd be fun, still look like a butterfly wing.
Absolutely. Wing it.
Wing it.
You're good. Good pun.
Thanks.
But it's a real thing. It was funny because I was just catching myself where I'm like, I'm lost in the sauce. Where am I? What section is what? Just a reminder, it's going to be okay. Okay. And then I'm going to do a thin line between the top and the bottom wing. Boop. Okay. Now I'm going to start doing my thinner lines. Remember to kind of sandwich your brush if you need help getting that nice point. And again, if you want these lines to be nice and delicate, but you just don't feel comfortable yet with your thin brush, grab a pen. Who cares? Nobody's gonna know. Just do it. But in all seriousness, because I think sometimes we get caught up in thinking like, is this considered cheating? Is this considered now mixed media? Is this considered, you know, like,
did I actually finish this painting?
Is this, yeah, like, did I do it right? Is somebody gonna call me out? And it's just like, first of all, if there are people like that in your life, let's talk about that.
Let's go there first.
Let's go there first. But it's more like the whole point is to create. And if you feel comfortable using a pen instead of a brush, I give you permission to do so. Because you want to have, like, you want to find joy in what it is that you're creating. And if you feel like you'll get a better results using another tool, another supply, another paper, another paint color, a whole nother project, just do what you got to do to actually sit down and make something. That's the important, that's really what we care about here. Just do it. Okay. So I'm just kind of like finishing up some sections and details, looking at where I've possibly missed a line, kind of like comparing it to my reference. And if you do discover that you missed a line, not a big deal. Just kind of sketch it in.
Make up a new line.
Make up a new line. And even when it comes to like some of these lines, when I'm working off of, like, I allow myself to edit them where I'm just like, that's too many lines. Let's cut that in half. You know, like, you have just the same right to do that as I do. Ooh, I love that I went back and made those a little bit more yellow. I'm glad that I did that.
Yeah, those look good.
Okay. All right. Precise, detailed wing is done.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. I'm going to, we're just going to quickly do the body. So I'm just going to use my two and just kind of do that same technique of kind of just putting the water down first. There's a little bit of black still on my brush, so it's turning out gray. That's okay. I'm avoiding these two round dots at the top. Those are just going to act as the glare for the eyeballs. So I'm just going to paint around them. And I'm going to take this black mixture. I'm mixing more. And I'm just going to drop it in. And it's okay if this is not a solid black, like if you get some grays, because even on black things, there's still light and shadow.
I love that blue.
Down here?
Yes.
I definitely got a little bit of a harder edge down here. I've been debating if I should blend it out or not. What do you think?
I think it fits because of the contrast from the orange, yellow, and black. I think it kind of fits.
Okay, then I'm not going to worry about it. Cool. All right, now we're moving on to, depending on who you are as an artist, the easy part or the hard part. Because some people, and this is why I like to give you guys a range of subjects, techniques, styles, everything, because I'm just trying to introduce you to as much as I possibly can so you can find out what speaks to you, because what's going to speak to you is different than what speaks to me, than what speaks to Keaton, than what speaks to Nicole and Jesse and all of these people. And that is the beauty of art. And so with this project, some of you might be like, the right side? Yes. Or some of you might be like, that was so boring. I just wanted to throw paint around, you know? And neither one is better than the other. Neither one is wrong. We are all welcome in this art world, okay? So let's get into it. So if you want to kind of like take a pencil to give you some guidelines of what to do with the wing, you can, or you can just go for it. I'm just gonna like, basically, I just am measuring the wing, so then I won't have like a huge wing right here. But if you want a huge wing, do a huge wing. But what I do with that is I'm just gonna take my fingers and I'm just gonna be like, the length of this wing is so. So I know that my wing needs to end about here. Okay?
Nice.
And maybe just kind of follow that shape. It's like a soft curve. And for the bottom, there's this kind of doohickey thing that sticks out, and it goes in. That's it. Oh, let me do that darker so you guys can see it. Don't do it this dark on your paper. Okay?
Nice.
Not perfect. Not interested in being perfect. Now that you saw it, I'm going to erase it. So again, we're kind of mirroring the shape, but we're not being precise, we're not being exact. We're letting loose. All right, I need more yellow because I mixed my yellow into oblivion.
Huh.
Where did my yellow go?
Oh.
Keenan.
Sneaky yellow.
Where did
behind
you
you
put
on the floor next to your other box. Other side.
Oh.
Oh.
This
Never
one?
mind.
This is it.
I was wrong.
You were wrong.
I sent you in the wrong direction.
That's okay. Oh, I saw that sometimes okay, how do I say this? These little tubes, sometimes they get, like the plastic doesn't go all the way through, and even using like a safety pin won't get them out. It's just like normal with plastic things for there to be some imperfections, and that little hole is so small that sometimes it just gets stuck. You can take these little lids off. So take a paper towel so you're not using your finger and just grab onto the tip and bend it to the right. And now you have access to all that paint. And that way, if you're just like really frustrated with the tip and you can't get it through, you can still get your paint out.
Nice.
And then you can just push it back on too when you're done.
Sweet.
Okay.
That's a good tip.
Because for a while, I would make Keenan find me safety pins. And I'd be like, I need a needle, I need a safety pin. And then I was just like, wait, I can just take the lid off. Let me take the tip off. Okay, so we're essentially gonna think about the coloring that we did with our right wing and mimic that, but we're doing it faster and looser and a little bit more playful. Try not to touch the body of your butterfly if it is still wet, because then that black will bleed, okay? So I'm just gonna use water. I'm taking my 6. I'm just gonna use water, putting down some color, being loose with my brush stroke, and I'm gonna take some yellow, drop it in, move it.
Sarah, I noticed you have 2 glasses of water.
I do.
They're both very similar color.
They are, because I always start with the intention of separating them, of having one be like dirty water, having one be clean, or having one be warm and having one be cool, and I just can't separate them. So I didn't talk about it. Keenan pointed it out. Thank you, Keenan.
You're welcome.
If you're better than I am, though, you can have 2 glasses of water. One for rinsing your brush, so then it's always your dirty water, and then one for picking up clean water. Or one for rinsing your cool colors and one for rinsing your warm colors, so then you don't get brown paint water. Okay, so you can see I'm just dropping in color, moving it, being a little bit loose, not being too perfect. I dropped in the red at the tip, similar, but I'm just kind of like flowing, playing. I'm gonna do yellow down here, and I'm getting very close to my body. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab some blue. I gotta get some fresh blue because mine turned to mud. Using my 6, picking up that blue, I'm gonna kind of just mimic that shape. Going up, it kind of makes a V.
Oh yeah.
And it's gonna touch my yellow and it's gonna bleed, and that's okay. And I'm gonna drop in some color here. Look at that.
That's nice.
And then there's a little bit of that like hint of yellow and orange underneath. that blue, put that there. And now I'm gonna start kind of like splattering. So I'm gonna take my yellow and just kind of, so you can do two things. You can use your finger and hit the paintbrush against your finger, or you can grab another paintbrush and hit it against a paintbrush. That might save your finger some pain. I'm gonna do the same thing with red. Maybe I'm gonna mix that red in with the yellow to get it orange. Splatter.
Another fun way to splatter, if you have an extra toothbrush you're never gonna use again,
Ooh.
and you want a really fine spray,
yeah.
you could do that.
That's a good. I'm just gonna drop in a little bit of orange at the end here, just for variation in color. Like, remember, some splatters probably got in there and kind of like bled. We're okay with that. We love it. We embrace it. Yes. Yay for splatters. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. Let's do some orange. As you can see, I'm just going. I'm making decisions and I'm sticking with them and I'm being okay with it. I'm not stressing too hard about colors bleeding into each other, what's gonna happen. You just go, okay? And we're gonna let that just kind of like dry for a second before we put in our black, because we want it to be wet that it bleeds, but not so wet that it overtakes the color that we put down. I'm gonna do some directional splatters. So what we did there is overall splatters. To get directional splatters, it's not about how you hit your brush, it's about the movement and direction of your arm, okay? So I'm gonna grab my 6, I'm gonna grab some yellow, and if I want splatters going angled this way, I'm gonna basically move my arm and throw that brush, like throw the water inside my brush that direction, okay? So grab some paint, grab some water, so it's nice and loose, we want it drippy, throw it to the right. So you see how I'm doing that angle?
Yeah.
Angle, throw, oh, I forgot to show you guys. This is so important. I'm so glad that happened. Take a clean paper towel and cover your right-hand side.
Ah, so as to not splatter the happiness
Yes.
of the clean side.
Yes. Okay, now that that's done, whew, I'm glad that happened. Okay, wet, dripping, yellow, direction, direction, direction.
No sound effect. Direction.
Hua, hua, hua. Okay, and if you're just like, I want it to be angled this way to kind of follow the shape of that, you can like move around your paper or like twist your paper. So I'm gonna still do the direction, but I'm gonna basically have it go this way. So I'm gonna start at the top. So you see how I'm kind of like thrusting my arm directionally in the angle that I want it to go.
Yeah.
And if you just want like these big splatters, but maybe not so much direction and angle, then what you're going to do is you're just gonna make sure your brush is really, really wet, and you're gonna do more stabbing motions, just up and down. So then you get the big splatters, but not a ton of angles, okay? Also, like, you guys can control how many splatters in the terms of, let's say I did this, I don't like how these are all very similar in size.
So get rid of them.
Get rid of them. Ooh, gosh, I love that, like red orange in there.
Yeah, that looks amazing. Those combos, red orange.
Oh yeah, I like that. Okay. So now what we're going to do, while it's still like, this is damp, now we're gonna add our black sections. So I'm gonna take my dark value that I have here and just kind of mirroring this shape. Oh, see, I got some splatters over here before I put that paper towel down. That's okay. So I'm just kind of grabbing this and just being like, that goes kind of angled this way. Okay, cool. Boop, boop, boop. And see how it's kind of like softening and bleeding out?
Yeah.
That's good. That's what we want. And then kind of like, so again, we're like freehand making marks that are similar to the marks that are on the other side, but it is not exact. We don't want it to be exact. It's more like gestural, like just getting the overall shape. Okay? And then there's like some so you can like outline it a little bit, make marks similar. I will suggest taking your 2 for the detail lines. Just putting those in there. But again, we're being loose. I'm not even like totally even looking at the side at this point. I'm just like going for it, you know?
It's become its own thing.
It's just doing its own thing.
You know the rough idea of what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, how can I remake, what if I didn't have access to this side? You know what I mean? Where it's just like, what do I remember from it?
That would be a fun one.
So I'm just kind of like doing the detail lines. My lines are skipping, that's okay. I'm not being too precise. I want it to be loose. I want it to be messy. I want it to be gestural, okay? And then while it's wet like this, I'm gonna do more splatters. I want there to be a little bit more craziness going on over here. So I'm gonna grab, so you can go in and out of these wings. Detail, like putting in those fine lines, splattering. You can even splatter water. Let's just see what happens when you splatter water, you know,
Okay.
like, I'm gonna do some red. Let's just do water. Like, let this get, you can even like go in there with your paintbrush and mess it up where you're just like, oh, that line's too tight.
Not messy enough.
Not messy enough. Just be a little bit careful that you're not making too much mud. But sometimes mud is pretty, okay? I like brown.
Yeah, well, chocolate.
Well,
so.
Obviously. And then at this point, I feel comfortable that I can start to connect the wing to the body. It's gonna bleed a little, but that's okay. Cool.
That is cool.
Do you have a favorite part for the loose side?
My favorite part for the loose side is, again, the blue.
I'm gonna do some blue directional.
I was gonna ask for that.
Yeah. Covering the right side, picking up blue, picking up more water so it's drippy.
Drip.
Throw in it
Yep.
at the angle.
Yep.
So it's almost like it's shedding, it's like spraying the colors of the wings with every flap, you know? You can even do, let's do some blue finer
Finer blue.
dots. Okay, ooh, that feels good.
That's so cool. Almost looks like fur.
Yeah.
Like tiger fur.
And again, if you wanna like, kind of just like outline it, this could be a fun thing, like to take a pen also and just kind of like outline some of these sections if you want. You don't have to.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Okay. And I am gonna go, I just feel like I need some new yellow. My palette is so crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
I just want this to be a little bit longer. It just feels like it needed to be. Man, there's so much color and texture going on right here.
I know. It's
I
literally
love it.
chaos.
Yeah, I love it. I might have gone a little bit too crazy with the water drops right here.
Opinion.
You know what though? I actually don't like how tight, you okay?
I'm okay, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I don't like how tight these detail lines are.
You don't.
I don't.
It's too tight.
Mess it up.
Get rid of it.
Let's get some yellow. Maybe some orange. Mess it up. Now, when you go in to mess it up, especially if it's been dry a long time, it's not going to move a ton. We can't erase it. We can lighten it. We can add color on top of it. We can adjust it. But like, I cannot erase those marks. That's okay though, because I feel like just adding that, softening that line, adding that color on top, soften the hardness of that edge, and that's exactly what I wanted. I'm so happy right here.
Every time you add a couple dots of red, I love that part.
Yeah, me too. I feel like I need some red.
In the wing?
In the wing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And maybe I'll do like a hint of just like dark, not a ton, we're not doing detail, but just a hint that there's a separation here. Yeah.
That's
Ooh.
nice. That's nice.
Oh yeah. Okay. I am so in love with how this project turned out. It is so fun. And because, especially with our left-hand side, we don't have an outline, we are playing, we are freestyling, we're sketching, we're making it our own. Every single time you do this project, it's going to be vastly different. Each project from one another is going to be its own. And I love that because it gives us an opportunity to look at what's different from our own, not in a way of that's bad or I'm bad or they're good and mine's better. No, painting loose when it's supposed to be loose gives us an opportunity to see how somebody else approached a project and appreciate the differences of them. We're not looking at this saying, how perfect is your butterfly? How realistic is your butterfly? We're looking at this and saying, what textures did you get? How did your colors mix together? What accidental elements did you not plan to happen but came out and you're so happy about? Like, it frees us from the expectation that art has to be realistic to be good. And that gives us the opportunity to learn more and explore and try new things. So let's finish off with these antennas. I'm picking up black paint. I'm smushing my paintbrush so I get a nice thin line. I'm going to try really hard not to put my wrist in wet paint. The ends of the antenna are thicker. And I'm just going to do the thinnest line.
Nice.
If your line skips, that's okay.
This is another moment of you could use a pen.
You can totally use a pen. All right.
Look at it.
Look at our project. It's so cool. Okay. I hope you had fun with this. I hope you allowed yourself to play, and I hope you saw this as an opportunity to let that childlike sense of wonder out instead of this isn't looking like the right-hand side. And then look at it as a whole. Appreciate the differences as they're right next to each other. Look at the juxtaposition of the pristine and the detailed and the tight next to the loose and the wild. Not that one is better, but to see their differences and appreciate their differences simultaneously. I hope you have fun with this project. I cannot wait to see how you guys make this your own. If you're on the Watercolor Facebook, you can join that. If not, that's called Let's Make Art Watercolor. If you're on Instagram, you can tag us at Let's Go Make Art or hashtag Let's Make Art. I absolutely love seeing what you guys make and paint. And if you need any of these supplies, you can find them at letsmakeart.com. We'll see you next week. Bye.